Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about how this current summer weather pattern could be impacting this winter. And yes, it could be in a more snowy and potentially, or a more cold, potentially more snowy way. I'm more confident in the cold rather than the snowy. But yeah, this is again more of a speculation. It does have evidence, and I will present it to you, and I'll just see, and you'll have to see, for yourself whether or not it makes sense. If not, that's fine. If it does, then we could talk about it in the comments. So yeah, if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. If you have any if you like this video, consider subscribing, consider giving it a thumbs up button, and if you already are subscribed, thank you so much. You could leave a comment or just watch the video and enjoy. All right, so yeah, let's get into this. I do want to clarify, I did briefly mention this, that this is, again, more of a speculation, more for the fun of it. I'm not really forecasting this as a kind of a 10-day forecast that this is going to happen. I'm just saying that it's a possibility, it's fun, and at this time of the year, I start looking towards winter and seeing what it may be like. It's just really fun, and there's a ton of people in this weather community that are into this. A lot of you are part of it. If you're not, well then, and if you want to be, just subscribe to the channel. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear because sometimes people are like, "Oh, your forecast, this might not come true," and yeah, that's true. It might not. All right. First off, let's start talking about this. Notice U.S. temperature and precipitation departures during the last 30 days. The summer weather pattern that I'm referring to, because you're saying this, because in the title it's just this summer's weather pattern. Well, let's see. Look at the temperature departures. This is the last 30 days, so yes, it's not all of summer, and it is only August 1st, but let's just say up until this point. Notice any trend? Yes, it has been warm across the north, the west, really more of the northwest and the west, and it has been cooler actually across the east, the northeast, and especially the south. This is the last 30 days. If you were to take a look at the last 90 days, which is a more broad area, a lot of similarities. Notice, very, very warm across the northwest and very chilly across the southeast. I shouldn't say very, but warmer and cooler across where the blue is, warmer across the oranges, right? So that's that. The precip really, yeah, there's also a trend. You could see more drier towards the north and west, but I haven't really looked at that, and I'm more focusing on the temperature side of the summer weather pattern, not necessarily the precip. Even though this weather pattern this year has been definitively very defined in terms of the precip. Dry to the north, northwest, and wet towards the southeast. Yeah, let's take a glance now at what I'm trying to show you with this. So, we have obviously a cool east, a southeast, and a warm west and northwest. Well, what on earth does that mean? Well, notice we are right now in the enso neutral. That is basically when the waters off of the coast of South America, which you could see is drawn out right there. There's North America. Each one of these is kind of a timeline of the La Nina developing. It's basically the equatorial Pacific Ocean and the temperatures. If they're below average, it's a La Nina. If it's above average, it's an El Nino. And if it's somewhere in between, which is what we are in currently, it's a neutral. Notice these are their predictions. They're showing that an enso neutral followed by a La Nina during the fall and winter. Now, I do want to say that I'm assuming in this video, in this forecast, that the winter is going to be a neutral. Right, I have made a video about how this upcoming winter could be a La Nina. Remember that? It was, I think, a couple videos ago. I made it assuming that there's going to be a La Nina, which, again, I'm still kind of favoring. But there are some indications, again, that this could be more of a potentially a neutral. Again, I would still say probably in La Nina, but it could be a neutral. So, I'm just saying if there is a neutral, it still looks good for the cold and snow lovers, potentially even better than for the La Nina. So again, we're assuming there's going to be neutral, even though a La Nina is predicted. So a neutral summer followed by a neutral winter. That's what I'm going with. And that's very important because in order to take a look back at history, what I did was I scouted out years that had very similar occurrences or had a neutral summer followed by a neutral winter. And again, right there, 2013, 2014 was one of them. And then I clicked here and I basically went back all the way to 1989 and picked out the few years that had that. There weren't that many, by the way. Notice, across, especially the last 20 years, it was 2013, 2014. Yes, there were a lot of summers that were neutral, but then they dived into La Ninas, or you could see right there, 2008, a little bit of neutral, and then quickly La Nina, which again, I do think will probably happen the most likely this year, but I'm just assuming things to keep the data kind of clear and show you a different case scenario for the forecast if the La Nina doesn't happen, which again is possible. Just it's not favored right now. I would even say it's likely the La Nina at this point because it's still it's a bit too a stronger word. I'm leaning towards that scenario. But notice right there, 2003, 2004, another year where there was a neutral summer into a neutral winter. So I chose that year, obviously. 2001, a neutral summer, which we are in right now, again, and a neutral winter. I'm assuming that, right? So that's another year I chose. And then there was a few more, actually not that many, all the way back into 1980. I think there were 6 or 7. Now, I want to show you the data that I found. So I looked at their summers, meaning July or June 1st through July 31st. And I skipped August because I don't know how August turned out for this year still, so I just wanted to compare their first 2 months to our first 2 months. I could make a follow-up once August comes, once August ends, and kind of update the information. So as I mentioned, the first year that I chose was 2013-2014. So I looked at the summer months, June through July of 2013. Remember what this year looked like, right? Cooler across the east, a bit of the south, and warmer across the west. It's definitely not a perfect representation, but there is a similarity between this year. Look at that. The temperature anomalies are rather similar. I hope you see that. If you recall, the first image I showed you was warmer here, and into the southeast, it was cooler. That's very similar to this year. Now again, they're not going to all be perfect. Notice it was cooler across the northern plains this year, or on 2013 and 2021 this year, it was way warmer. But again, there are some similarities. Now, if you were to take a look at June through July of 2003, again, there's no cool really across the west. It's centered across the east and the south, where it has been this year. And again, the heat has been centered across the west, where it has been this year as well. Now, again, there are some differences. Notice it extends more into the northern plains. It is definitely way more hotter this year across British Columbia into Saskatchewan, right? So definitely a bit of a difference, but the general pattern is rather stable. Now, let's look at 2001. Yes, this one is a bit different, definitely a bit off. Notice that the northwest and British Columbia, where it has been by far the warmest, are actually cooler during this year. But there is still that cool across the east. It's a bit further towards the east, and the heat towards the west. But again, it's a bit further towards the west, or sorry, towards the east. So again, there are some similarities, but it's a bit further away than I would say this year, 2003. But nevertheless, it's not a complete change. Look at this one, 1996. Generally, this, pretty good. It's the coolest across the Great Lakes, which this year it has been coolest, and centered towards the north and east, while the warmth was towards the west. Now notice that British Columbia was in the blue colors right there, which this year, again, has been rather on the warmer side. But there are some similarities. At least we don't have the blue, across the west, or we have just random colorations. It's a consistent trend with all these years, which again is rather remarkable since I just chose them based off their neutral ENSO and their characteristics to the Pacific waters, which again just shows you how much of an impact this may have. Now, this was the one year where it was kind of that one year where it really didn't match anything. It was cooler across the north, northwest, pretty much exact opposite. So you can see there are still outliers. I'm not cherry picking this data. And you can see this was one of the years where, there was absolutely no pattern between our year and 1993 and, quite frankly, the rest of the years. Now, we go back in 1990. There it is. You can see it's slightly kind of going back to what we're looking at. Again, a bit more skewed. It is warm across British Columbia, the coastal areas. So we have that. Definitely a bit too chilly compared to this year. And the heat is more centered towards the south and west. But it's still consistently chilly with all the years pretty much other than this year across the Great Lakes and Northeast. This one, again, is not the best year. But notice 1989. Another year, it is, all of them, notice, have some sort of a cool anomaly that is centered pretty much at its greatest west of the Rockies, east of the Rockies. And the heat, notice, across southern Canada, again, this year, it has been very, very warm across southern Canada. It has not really been chilly like they're showing here, but there are some similarities for sure. Again, the cool across the south, maybe not as far to the west as this map is showing it, and it has been rather warm across the southwest, and the northwest right here hasn't been as cool as what this model is showing. It's been, quite frankly, hot. Or sorry, not this model, compared to this year, 1989. So now, to make it nice and simple to look at, I compiled all the June through the July time periods that I thought were similar based on just the ENSO, and looked at their temperature anomalies. So all the years I already showed you just compiled on top of each other. Notice that there are some differences, or some similarities this year, quite a few. The east, the north, the northeast have been relatively cool on these years. And this year has been the case. Now, there are some differences as well. Notice it extends the cool all the way into the southwest, the northern plains. This year, not so much. It's rather scorching. But notice southern Canada in these years was very hot, and this year that's also true. Again, it definitely is warmer this year across southwestern Canada. But again, our year today, 2021 is just one of these years that again is a slightly different. Notice not all of these years are exact, right? They're all slightly different in some sort of metric, but the overall kind of gist of the picture is there: cooler towards the east and southeast, and warmer towards the north, and this year especially the northwest. So now I want to take a look at what does that mean for the winter, right? What followed these winter months or these summer months? What did the winter look like? Now, I don't show you all individual pictures of each year. I could have done that, but I wanted to keep this video a bit shorter. But this is what the composite of all those years looked like. Notice it's 2014, 2004. It's 1 year ahead because the ending year is in February. So again, this is the winter following these summers. This is what it looked like. And honestly, if you're to take a look at the average neutral ENSO, it adds up. It's warmer a bit towards the south and east. There are some pockets of cool, maybe across the south, southwest, but the majority of the very, very cold air is towards the north, right into southern Canada, into the northern United States. So yeah, I mean, you could see that this year we have such similarities. It'd be hard not to see at least some sort of degree of this pattern happening this year. Now, again, could this be way more expansive and potentially, diving all the way down into the mid-Tennessee Valley, maybe even the south? Yes. Could it be a bit less expansive, but definitely some traces? Of course. I'm just showing you that even if the neutral does occur and that La Nina doesn't, which again, I still favor the La Nina, there is still a good sign that compared, that kind of years have had similar summers, this is what their winters turned out like. So yeah, definitely I think a very cool graphic, very cool little slideshow. I think you guys will enjoy to look at. And again, this isn't really anything to make your forecast off of, not prepare winter just off of one little slideshow presentation. But, if you're to take a look at a neutral forecast from NOAA, if it were to be neutral, they would favor, again, chillier conditions towards the north and east and west and warmer towards the south, because that's usually what happens. And you can see that adds up. But again, La Nina is favored. We're still very far out. Neutral may, again, still occur. Okay, I did also take into account their precipitation, right? So snowfall, where the cold and above average precip lines up, that's figuratively where it would be more snowier. Notice a lot of precip across the east, the southeast right here. You can imagine that there will be several probably storm tracks if this, were to pan out such a similar winter. Notice the north, the northwest, very, very, very wet. Again, that could be rain, but also snow, especially if we get more of those blue colors in there. And yeah, again, that neutral, even if you can see it's wetter, but it's a neutral coloring. So yes, it could be more rain, but with that rain, there also would be probably more snow. So probably an above average year for maybe, the northeast or kind of the mid-Atlantic area potentially. And then, of course, the north, look at that, above average right there. So that could mean quite a bit of snow for the Duluth, North Wisconsin, the UP area, southern Canada. Again, precip is much harder to predict, but that doesn't mean that if you live across the south into the southwest, you're not going to see any precip or any snow. You could have a freak accident like in 2017. Overall, not a horrible winter in terms of, it wasn't a blockbuster winter, but there was one winter storm in December that passed through the south, and folks, I remember that winter for that winter storm. That's all it takes. So, at least, I hope a lot of you do. I think it snowed all the way down to the coast in Alabama, Georgia. I think Atlanta, just north of Atlanta, there was almost like a foot of snow. There was quite an event. It was Winter Storm Bella, if I remember that right, or Winter Storm. I think it was with a B, but it might have not been Bella. Some other name. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and that's basically it for today. Yeah, but I think it was very cool to see similar summers, what they have for winter, and it definitely is not didn't let us down. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya.